Okay, so thank you everybody on behalf of Momentum Integrative Health Solutions and EllieMD. I'm Danielle Lee, hashtag It Didn't Crush Me. I am the founder of the It Didn't Crush Me movement and CEO of Momentum Integrative Health Solutions. After 20 years, or nearly 20 years, as a top performing pharmaceutical leader, I took everything I knew about science, innovation, and patient care and built a mission-driven company that bridges cutting-edge medical advancements with real-world results, helping people achieve next-level health for their next-level life. Tonight, I am so honored to bring you a conversation with one of the most respected voices in peptides, regenerative medicine, and longevity, Dr. Jason Pencek. Dr. Jason Pencek is a board certified nurse practitioner and chiropractor specializing in peptide therapy, hormone optimization, and regenerative medicine. With over a decade of experience, he bridges traditional and integrative care to help patients heal, restore energy, and improve long-term health. Dr. Jason uses advanced tools like GLP-1s, IV therapy, and precision protocols to deliver real, lasting results with a whole person approach. His expertise in advanced therapeutics has changed lives across the country, and tonight he's here to pull back the curtain on what's real, what's hype, and how to make safe, informed choices when it comes to your health. So get ready to take notes. This is going to be a deep dive that you have been waiting for. And we also are here on behalf of EllieMD. Without the EllieMD patient platform connecting you with prescription strength pharmaceutical, clean and safe peptides, we wouldn't have this opportunity for this educational series. So, Dr. Jason, that is a formal bio, but why don't you share with the audience a little bit more about who you be?
Of course. I just finished my last LEMD with honey, actually.
Yes.
So I got into peptides accidentally. It was a about 8 years, probably about six years ago, 6.5 years ago, I started peptides. About 8 years, I started working on myself. I started using hormones on myself because I was feeling tired, fatigued, didn't feel great. Like many people do, as we get older, we just don't feel as good. That's part of the aging process, right? So I was like, what can I do to fix this? What can I do to improve how I'm feeling every day? So I started using hormones myself. It helped, but it wasn't enough. I had friends of mine that said, "You've been in school for years. When do we get the steroids and when do we get the growth hormone?" And I was like, "Oh, you guys are killing me." But I'll start looking some stuff up and figure out how do people get this stuff? How does it work? The first thing I looked up was growth hormone, and the one of the first searches was growth hormone peptides. And I was like, "What are these growth hormone peptides? What the heck is this stuff?" Now, LEMD is going to be offering testosterone and ipamorelin, which I'm really excited for the community. And that was one of the first growth hormone peptides I learned about. Learned about some of the growth hormone releasing peptides, the growth hormone releasing hormone, and got really excited. I said, okay, I have a thing I can start talking to my friends about. So I tried these things, and my God, did I start feeling better. Inflammation came down, energy went up, brain function went up, strength went up, fat loss, sleep, better hair, skin, nails. I've done a full transformation over the last basically um, uh, probably like 7 years, 6 years. So it has been an absolute amazing time to get into peptides. I got in right when they first started coming out, and I jumped in the bandwagon, went to some of the very first trainings on this. So one of the very first trainings was occurring literally right after I learned. I learned about it, and then I had this seminars, the first seminar in the United States, big one, International Peptide Society put on, and I joined. So I was right at the forefront of this. It just goes lucky. I literally had to thank my friends for calling me out because they are the one who drove the train to get me into this. And I've been doing peptides now for 6.5 years with patients, with myself, friends, family, and have just so much experience now. Lots and lots of data to pull from. I go to seminars constantly on peptides. I'm teaching actually a course in Cancun next month. I'll be speaking on peptides, doing a workshop on them. So I live, breathe, and die peptides. So
Yes, it's interesting. Once it comes into your sphere of recognition, suddenly it's everywhere and you cannot help but go down the rabbit hole. Just because we have a wide array of folks right here on the call, can you take it kind of down to basics? First of all, what is a peptide? Because when people don't seem to know what they are, I hear them say, "Oh, it's just the latest buzzword." So can you break down what an actual peptide is, and then maybe tell everybody what the variations are that are kind of clouding the prescription peptide from
sure. Yeah, we can go
drugs?
through all that. So, what is a peptide? Peptides are mini proteins. Okay, we want to think of these as proteins. We understand proteins. You're eating protein every day. If I said increase your protein content, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Proteins are built on amino acids. So two amino acids put together in a chain up to 50, 40, kind of the language varies here from person to person, from group to group, is considered a peptide. These peptides are going to change a lot of things in your body. They're cell to cell signaling molecules. They're going to tell your cell to do anything, right? We have the GLP-1s, which are big right now, semaglutide, tirzepatide. They're telling your body, hey, improve insulin sensitivity, work on slowing down gastric emptying, help with appetite suppression, help with fat oxidation. We're having things such as testosterone, nipronol, which is telling your body to release more growth hormone. It's naturally just nudging your body in the direction of releasing more growth hormone, which goes down as we age. So there are a multitude of peptides out there. I always joke that there's a peptide for that. I have ones for the immune system. My tan is an injection to make me tan. There's PT-141, which is a libido enhancing peptide, makes you just want to have sex. So the joke has always been my practice. If you come to see me, there's a peptide for that. And I use peptides in and out every day, with GLP-1s probably my most favorite. And so, kind of what comes down to these peptides things, the next thing we have to talk about is safety for these. So for the most part, peptides are very safe. There's very little risk for using peptide therapy in general because peptides mostly are naturally occurring. Most of these things we find, like GLP-1s, naturally occurring in our bodies. Thymosin alpha-1, my immune modulating peptide, naturally occurring in the body. Um, so a lot of these things we see, are very, very, very safe. Also, if you haven't heard of insulin, insulin is a peptide. So there are many, many peptides out there that people probably didn't even know that existed. They're naturally being used. They're already used now. But where safety becomes a factor is actually why I love EllieMD so much, is you guys are using compounding pharmacies. So this is the big thing. As a practitioner, I legally cannot use these online gray area research companies. In fact, I just got a message from one of my reps at one of my pharmacies who really is looking out for me or trying to, this like, I don't know, 7 picture screenshots from a Facebook group in peptides saying why we don't use gray market peptides. The Ohio board went into several different med spas and doctors' offices and basically said, show me the peptides you're using. Where are you getting your stuff from? And they're pulling Alpha Bio is one of the ones that's commonly used. It's an online peptide company. There are companies right now that are telling providers, hey, we're an online research and development one, but we only do the providers. We only have providers, so like no one else can get them, which is great, right? As a practitioner standpoint, not only my patients be able to get this stuff is great because there's obviously when we resell these things, there's an amount of money that we take as providers from doing this. There's an increase in price. So if I'm telling the patient that they can get this and I'm getting the same place they are, well, they're just going to buy it from that place. Why the heck would they ever want to get it from me? And providers don't get an extra discount because we're providers for most of these places. So the problem with that is the board has said, and the FDA, it is not legal to buy from these places. They are not regulated in any way, shape, or form. If something happens to you, some untoward reaction, there's bacteria in that vial, it's mislabeled. I've heard of companies have getting semaglutide instead of tirzepatide, not realizing it, passing out to people. What happens when you take semaglutide, you take tirzepatide? Well, tirzepatide has a lot less nausea. If you're taking this 2.5 milligram dosing of semaglutide, that's top dosing. You're going to get sick. You're going to get real, real, real sick. So yeah, on bad reactions. What if that 2.5 milligrams, you're on a 15 milligram dose, right? What if you're on the top dose of this stuff and you're like pulling this stuff out and you give yourself an injection, 15 milligrams of sema, you might have some really bad hospitalization type things happen. So there is no regulation. And let's say this occurs to you. Who are you going to go after? No one. There is no fallback. There is no one. You go after this company. I was research and development. It says animal use only. You don't want. I don't know what you're talking about. I didn't do anything. Now, whether or not that hold in the court of law, who knows? But I can tell you that is what's being said right now. They're not cleaning the peptides. So one of the things we find is LPS or endotoxins, basically lipopolysaccharides. These are going to be bacteria that have broken down. LPS leads to inflammation in the body. It leads to increasing your body's heat, like you get like temperature from taking too much LPS, increases risk of Alzheimer's. LPS leads to a lot of long-term issues. So doing something that increases LPS by injecting it in your body is not good. Patients get really sick. In fact, a few months ago, actually a couple years ago, one of my pharmacies, I use a lot of NAD, which I know EllieMD has. I love the product. And NAD had come from a supplier. The supplier that had got to the pharmacy said, oh, LPS endotoxin levels down here. and they started passing the bottles out. Because most of the time, these pharmacies get it, they're already in back order. So they're trying to get stuff out as fast as possible. They shipped it out before they've done their own testing. So typically what happens is the lab will send it's a third party lab. On the FDA comes and inspects it. This company's it's safe and determined safe by the FDA. So these labs are okay. They only ship to pharmacies though. So the pharmacy gets the product. The pharmacy says, yep, they did the testing. We start sending it out and they do their own testing just to ensure everything's fine. They get the testing back about a week later and they find LPS was really high. During that week, some of my patients got that product and were like, I felt really awful. It burned. I got sick. And I'm hearing these awful things. And this was sub-Q. I had some practitioners that were doing this IV. So my patients are doing 100 milligrams. Some of these practitioners are doing 1,000, 1,500 milligrams. These patients got incredibly sick. So there is someone that's liable here. The pharmacy can be liable, held responsible for this. So the pharmacy immediately has a recall. They replace all the bottles. Obviously, they apologize, and thankfully nothing bad happened. But in this scenario, if this happens with your online company, they don't care. Whatever. They might not even test. In fact, they don't even test this stuff. It goes out. People complain, emailing, hey, this made me feel really sick. Okay, well, whatever, cool. Like they get hundreds and hundreds of emails a day from people for saying this isn't working, this doesn't work, and people don't know what to do. There's also with the online places, there was no guidance. That's the number one thing. There was no one telling you what to do. So you're on Reddit, the cesspool of the internet when it comes to figuring out how to use this stuff. I was on Reddit for quite a while. And it was really funny. About 6 months ago, my wife actually told me she met a guy in Arizona, and he made some comment like, "Your husband's it does peptides in Chicago. I've been following this guy, open-minded Chicago doc, and on Reddit. Does he know this guy?" And she's like, "That is my husband, actually." He's like, "Oh my God, I've been wanting to follow. I want to do everything he said. I just, you don't trust. I can't trust him. Like it's Reddit." So you don't know who these people are. People online are saying, take this, do this dosage, do this. I saw this. It's a great amalgam to get an idea of what to do, but there's no idea. There's no one telling you how to this. There's no practitioners learning. I mean, I was the voice of reason at the time, but no one believed of who I was because anyone can say you're whatever. So I do really want people to understand the reason why places like LEMD and practitioners like me exist isn't just we want to get you peptides and overcharge you for them, right? That's not the big thing. The big thing is we want safety. I really, really have to tell people how much safer it is. I have seen people get stuff. I go on Reddit now. I still every so often look at the peptide group. I don't post there anymore as much. I mostly focus on my Instagram. Too much work to deal with that. But I'll pop up my newsfeed from Reddit. Hey, I ejected this bottle. And places like Peptide Science is the number one places, one of the most trusted places, supposedly, for this. And there'll be like a piece of black, something in the bottle, or be cloudy, and you'll be like, well, how did that happen? And the person has no clue what to do. Should I throw it away? Should I use it? And this is like phone a friend on, was the Millionaire show, right? That we had to have years ago. And
Yeah.
it's like just ask in the community, should I do this? If there's enough yeses, I'll take it. Like, right? Like, how safe is that? So I get really frustrated. One of my really good friends, he was patient, became a patient of mine. He opened a lab up and he was ordering from China, just like these labs of mine do. And he comes to me, he's like, dude, 70% of the product they give me is good, 30% is pure garbage. Now, if you are being a if you have no ethics at all, you're gonna sell all the product. 30% is bad. You're still gonna sell it. It doesn't meet any of the standards to become like safe. He said even the 70% that he got still wasn't top quality. So what he did is he went around and tested, he spent a bunch of money and tested the top 10 vendors in the United States for peptide labs. Only one single one passed. Every other one didn't pass. Not enough product, not the right product. There was bacteria in the, I mean, like all these things are going on. So he's like, he decided I'm gonna make my own product. So he actually built a lab, did this whole thing, and he's now closed now. But he had I would say probably the best product was in the market. And again, there's one. He was the one of two people that made this. So you're playing Russian roulette. If you go online and buy from these places, you have absolutely no idea what you're getting. And then second, the biggest thing is how do I use it? If you're not losing weight on a GLP when it stops working, what do I do next? Or I have this other thing going on. I want to work on this next. What do I do? So without having some kind of trusted source to go to and help you and explain to what your next step might be, you're kind of left in the desert and no man's land. So we have no idea what to do. So I have to very much stress this guy was the one who really sold it home to me. I always knew that peptide labs are bad, but when he came to me and said, I tested 10 companies, the top of the top, and one passed, that is not good odds. In fact, he went to all these companies and told them, by the way, I tested your product. I'm just telling you. And No one responded back to him. No one.
They don't
So
care. Right.
of course they don't care.
Until there's a big enough event that's going to cost them
Yep.
money, they don't care. And that's unfortunately for all the medical professionals on here, we understand the state of our medical system and we can understand why that there is some apathy there because there's so much that you have to deal with. You have to kind of pick your battles, but that's the reality of it. And I will say prior to this call at about 5:30, I was on the phone with a college friend who was telling me that she's like, I took one of those shots because my husband told me I was fat. And she goes, I was in the hospital so sick. I was dehydrated and I literally had to be hospitalized. And I said, tell me where you got it. So go right to the website. And what I have to scroll all the way down to the fine print at the bottom to get where it says research grade only, not for human consumption, only for lab testing. And I sent our picture. It's like, this is why. So I wanted to make sure that you were able to hammer home how important where you source these products
Mhm.
is because we're really going to spend the bulk of this time talking about how great they are, how life-changing they are,
Mhm.
how beneficial they are for your health, your vitality, and your overall well-being. But it really depends on where you get the product. And secondly, as I have gone down the rabbit hole of this research, in a 5 minute period, I went through five different online pharmacies and, or no, seven, I'm sorry, seven different online pharmacies that every single one of them was research grade only. So
Yeah.
that's why LEMD does exist.
Yeah.
Um,
There's a lot of places that will tell you, in fact, this is the problem with practitioners, is the reason why we're so confused. Alpha Biomed just reached out to me. In fact, I still have an email that I haven't sent to him yet because I don't want to be a dick. I just don't want to be a jerk to these people. I pride myself on just not being mean, right? What do I want? What do I want them to do to me? And I wrote the skating thing. They're asking me to come work with them. And I'm like, I can't legally work with you. Even if I wanted to, even if I thought your product was the top product, you were the number one vendor, you make the best. I legally, as a practitioner, cannot work with you because you're research grade. So this is the big thing that practitioners get caught up in. They don't even realize that they can't work with these companies because no one's telling them. This is the Wild West when it comes to peptides. This is all new, right? For many of us, this has been something known for a year or two. GLP-1s came out and then everyone got into peptides. I've been in this a little bit longer, so I have a bit more experience. But in general, most people got into this in the last few years or in the last year or sooner. And because of that, they have no idea. So this company comes to them and says, I, I got you. I got you. We'll take care of you. Like, we're going to get you the prices are really cheap. We're going to help you out. We're going to send you the bottles. You ship them to your patients. It's going to be fine. They have no clue that this is actually illegal. And so what's happening is people don't know this. And then they don't realize they're giving bad product out. They just assume everything's the same. Why would I buy from a compounding pharmacy that's so much more expensive? Why would I do that? Like, what reason do I have? I can save money for my patients. I can save myself money. And they're not realizing all these things. So I think it's a disservice to the practitioners to have these companies say, because what will happen is they'll say, we're practitioner only. We only supply practitioners. Why? Because that is a gold mine for these places. Gold mine because practitioners sell way more than most affiliates do. So if I'm a company and I'm a research grade only, gray market area, I'm going to go after every practitioner. I don't care if I get the rest of the people because practitioners were going to sell way more than anyone else do. So they're basically looking at practitioners as affiliates. Like, we're going to get them to sell everything, not telling them this is actually dangerous. And if something happens, your board's going to come in and pull your license, which is something that's been said to practitioners before. If you continue using this product, your license is gone. So that's kind of how it goes.
Yeah, not really worth the risk,
Yeah.
honestly, when there are safe options out there. You
Right.
mentioned that these have been around for a long time, and let's kind of talk about the GLP-1. It seems to be the gateway peptide into the world of regenerative health. I mean, these things came out in the early 2000s, right? So talk
Correct.
to us a little bit about how you feel about using GLP-1s and what that does for your patients.
Well, 40% of my practice is GLP-1s. If that says anything, I do stand by them. I'm on a GLP-1. I'm currently on retatrutide, which is about to come out end of 2026, beginning of 2027. We have a pharmacy that makes it. But semaglutide's my go-to. I'm only trying this because we have patients on and I want to see how it works. So I do try everything before I give it to patients. That's one of the things I pride myself on. GLP-1s have been out since 2007. It was the first GLP-1 that came out. A lot of talk has been it's on reptile venom. This is the big thing everyone kind of pushes back on. It's from the venom of this lizard. And I mean, yeah, that's where we found it. It was identified. Look, there's a lot of drugs identified in nature, right? That exist. And then the pharmaceutical company takes it and makes something better with it. So it makes it safe. Like, that's the whole point. There was a ton of safety data on GLP-1s. They've been around since, again, almost 25 years or almost 20 years now. The GLP-1s help reduce the risk of heart disease by up to 30%. They reduce the risk of Alzheimer's Parkinson's. In fact, we found with liraglutide, the cousin to semaglutide and tirzepatide, there is going to be a year over year 50% more brain mass for Alzheimer's patients. There is a 20% improvement in holding of symptoms. So symptoms go down for the patients not on liraglutide, the patients on it have 20% less symptoms. So we are seeing, and this is a known factor, GLP-1s are going to be used in Alzheimer's disease. We know this. It's preventing Alzheimer's disease. We have the data. It's reducing the risk of type 2 diabetes. It's reducing brain inflammation. It's reducing body inflammation. It's reducing the risk of cancer just by losing weight. If anyone's unfamiliar with this, just a 10% loss of weight, 10-pound loss of weight is a 10% risk reduction of cancer. There's 13 types of cancer that are obesity related, and it's going to bring that down. And on their own, GLP-1s are also reducing cancer. Prostate and breast, we are very sure of right now that just using this would improve those risk of cancers. So we're seeing so many risk factors going down, even at low dosage, right? Now, the benefit is when we use the high dosage for weight loss, all of a sudden, when weight comes down, all of these risk factors across the board all get better. Heart disease risk goes down, again, all the things I just named, but all of them come down from losing weight. So the GLP-1s were the starter, kind of as the peptide to come in because everyone heard Ozempic, they heard Mounjaro, and they flocked. I was probably one of the first clinics using Ozempic, Mounjaro when they first came out. I had access to them, so I've been using them for about a little over 5 years now with great success. When I first started using it, I didn't know what I was doing either because it was before, right when semaglutide first came out. And it took me a while to get the hang of GLP-1s to start using them appropriately and well. In fact, the first 10 patients I had, I put on 2.4 milligrams of semaglutide to start. And if anyone knows that, that's the top dose. I had some sick patients. I had a patient call me, he can do it a home IV in his office. He's like, I'm vomiting. My wife, she ate something and I ate it and I got sick somehow and she didn't. And I'm like, oh yeah, that must be what it was. It wasn't the fact they gave you the top dose of a thing that can make you really nauseous. Whoops, sorry. He got a couple IVs for me for that one. And I didn't charge him. I was very much like, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize that because I didn't know the dosing at the time. So these are all new. I was back in the Wild West of this and people didn't know how to use GLP-1s. Now we have a much better handle on dosing, microdosing. This is something we talk about buzzword right now. Microdosing GLP-1s is something now I know EllieMD is using. There is some argument whether or not 2.5 milligrams, which is 50 units of tirzepatide from EllieMD, is microdosing. I use 2.5 milligrams. I call it microdosing. I know it's the bottom dose, but for me, microdosing is anything below weight loss dosing in practice. Again, that's not means I'm going to run someone at 10 milligrams because they're not losing weight. I do bring it back down to this 2.5 as like kind of like my base for microdosing. But the GLP-1s became this massive monster in the room, right? There's so much money that's been made from these. These are record-breaking drugs because they're actually helping people lose weight for the first time ever. There's been nothing that works this well. People talk about all these issues from GLP-1s, right? We see muscle wasting, which if you're not being consulted and no one's telling you what to do, yeah, you're going to lose muscle. I'm sorry. You will lose muscle on a GLP-1 if no one tells you what to do. If your doctor just says, here's your GLP-1, good luck with life, hope it goes well. Yeah, lots of muscle wasting. Fortunately, if you have someone that can counsel you, this is why we don't just go online and buy the stuff. Someone says, hey, we need more protein. Hey, we need to start doing more strength training. Hey, maybe you should get your hormones checked and see if they're optimized. Hey, we have this thing called testosterone and ipamorelin that also holds muscle mass really well. So we compare that with the GLP-1. So growth hormone and testosterone are going to do a good job at holding that. Protein intake is going to help with that. 1 gram per pound of body weight is what I try to get my patients to do. Doesn't happen, especially when on GLP-1, you won't be as hungry, but that's what we talk about. Increasing that strength training. If you're not strength training 3 to 4 days a week, you're really failing yourself. You will lose muscle mass. Now, semaglutide and tirzepatide both have more muscle wasting if you do nothing. Tirzepatide seems to have less of that. So if you are really concerned with muscle mass, that's a big, big factor to you. Tirzepatide has more weight loss and also has a better job preserving muscle. In practice, I can say they're about equal. I don't see the muscle savings from tirzepatide compared to semaglutide. We have a ton of patients on these, and when they're counseled correctly, I don't really notice it. But people still ask me, I'm going to tell them the best one's still tirzepatide. Um, we aren't quite sure how much better the dual agonist, which is tirzepatide, which has a GLP-1 plus a GIP in it, how much better that is for longevity. The GLP-1 in semaglutide is a bit stronger. It has better affinity for the GLP-1 receptor. So personally, I like semaglutide better than tirzepatide, specifically for the craving reduction that is larger in semaglutide than tirzepatide. So more people see craving reductions Not that you don't see food reductions in both, but the actual craving reductions at a low dose do seem to be a bit better with the semaglutide. So I run that low dose for myself. Some people like tirzepatide better because they get nauseous with it. But the GLP-1s are the start. This was the starting peptide. Then everyone found out about, PT-141. There's, things such as the growth hormone peptides. There's all these different peptides that we can do. And we know we talk about NAD as well. It's not technically a peptide, it's a B vitamin derivative, but it's kind of included in that peptide talk. When everyone all the time's like, all the peptides I'm taking, I'm on a peptide, I'm on NAD. I'm like, not. I split hairs there, so I was like, not really a peptide, but yeah, sure, great. NAD's still great. So all this stuff became big, right? We started seeing people taking these things. What's going on here is that we're seeing people really care about health. I think that's the bottom line, Danielle. Like people want to be healthy. People don't want to be sick. So we have an FDA that has pushed crappy food, crappy diet. They've allowed processed foods to run rampant. If you look at the back of the food you're eating and you can't name the thing in the back, throw it out. Please throw it out. It is not good for you. We see all sorts of endocrine disruptors in our environment now. We see all these things going on. And the reason people hate big pharma is because we've made drugs to just kind of, fix the symptoms. Fortunately, these are the first things we found that can actually help fix and repair things metabolically in patients, which is actually a big deal. In fact, other companies are going to start having less drug sales if we can reduce the risk of cancer, reduce the risk of heart disease. This is going to affect other drug companies. So, as much as I hate big pharma, let me tell you, I hate them so much as everyone else. They've done so much damage to the kind of people out there, the drugs we give another drug to fix it. But finally, they have something that actually works well. And it's a peptide, right? This is the thing. This is why I'm into peptides, because these peptides actually do a lot of great things. So GLP-1s are one of the best things out there that I've ever seen. It is something I talk to if I have a patient I talk to, I'm recommending GLP-1s. I had, I think, I don't know, 3 phone calls today, 3 or 4. Typically, I'm seeing 8 to 10 patients a day. A lot of new patients. I think I have 8 patients tomorrow that are new. Every one of them I'm going to talk about GLP-1s to at some point. It is something I speak about all day, every day, because of the benefits that I see. You come in with arthritis, GLP-1. You come in to see me and you want to lose weight, GLP-1, right? You come in because you want longevity wellness, GLP-1. There is very few people that I would not be saying, hey, a GLP-1. Even my people that are underweight. Um, I have a patient that was 105 pounds coming to see me, a little bloating in the belly, had pain in her foot. I said, this GLP-1 might fix both these. We might fix the bloating in the belly, it brings inflammation down, it might help your foot pain. Magically, it did. No weight loss. All it did is help work on that pain and the bloating. And we had changed the diet already. We'd already done, this is the thing. Diet, nutrition, exercise are your 3 pillars. I want everyone to understand. Let me not forget to say this. This is so important. These 3 things have to be talked about: diet, nutrition, exercise. If you miss those, doesn't matter what peptides you give or hormones you give, you can't out peptide, out hormone, diet, nutrition, exercise. Those are your foundations. This is why I'm saying the FDA's come in and ruined our diet and nutrition. They've ruined our diet so badly. They allow all the dyes in the foods, they allow all the garbage in there. In fact, even Ozempic has propylene glycol. Like the actual drug that I'm talking about here has a poisonous piece to it, which is why I buy compounded only for my patients. Propylene glycol is banned in the UK. It's banned in Europe. It is not healthy for us. This is why I don't use it in practice. But guess what? Big Pharma decided to put it in because it makes it stable. There's also some talk, actually, it was really funny. I had a meeting with another group yesterday on peptides. And Eli Lilly recently just came out and said, hey, like, all these peptide places, they're making all these compounding. Because again, look, all these companies, Eli Lilly, Novo Nordisk, they don't want people buying from EllieMD, compounding pharmacies, online, anything, right? That cuts the bottom line, right? Novo Nordisk came out and said, hey, we're not making much money because compounding pharmacies. Well, just do your job and don't put propylene glycol, and then people will be more willing to buy your product. Like maybe just don't make a poison. That's one argument I have with them. But I will say that these companies come out there and they Eli Lilly made a big deal about how there's a salt. They push this thing how there's a salt attached to the ones that are compounded. Funny thing is, the salt actually works better. So there's actually the design of the peptide that they made doesn't work as well as the compounded versions. So this is really funny. They push this out there, and unfortunately, because they've already patented the drug, they patent how to make it. They screwed themselves because this better version exists out there, better than the one you can actually go get at the drugstore. It works better than what they had, and yet they pushed it across the news like this is bad. We shouldn't, you shouldn't be using this. And it's like, well, it works even better than what you guys made. Like maybe you should just stop talking about this because this is not good. Okay,
I
is
think
that
that's a really good thing that you brought up because I was going to ask you to speak a little bit about why you prefer the compounded version of the GLP-1 and you went there anyway. And I will say this just came out at the end of July. Um, the one saving grace about Big Pharma spearheading and putting all the funds behind this is they are the ones that are funding the studies. And so Lilly's Manjaro was just their press release is Lilly's Manjaro. It's a GLP-1 GIP dual agonist demonstrated cardiovascular protection in landmark head-to-head trial, reinforcing its benefit in patients with type 2 diabetes and heart disease. That's fantastic, right? Again, we're showing longevity benefits by taking these medicines that are getting really trashed in the news and the headlines, which most of the products that are causing these extreme side effects that don't show up in the package insert, it's because people are getting the research grade online. I want to go to a couple questions here because they're really coincide with this GLP-1 talk. And first is, how do you wean down from a weight loss dose to get to a maintenance or microdosing level, but also while you need to switch to something else because maybe someone did give you retatrutide and it's really not available and you have to make a decision. What do you
yeah,
do next, right? So
right.
we're not all part of like the big important group like you are, right? We know that you really cannot get retatrutide right now. So what do you
Yes.
tell people to do?
That's great. So I get obviously asked this question a lot. What do I do? In our patients, I just drop them down to the bottom dose. I'm like, hey, you hit your dosing, just go down to the bottom dose, which for me is 2.5 milligrams of between 1 to 2.5 milligrams of Terza, or between 0.15 milligrams of semaglutide to zero point 0.5 milligrams of semaglutide. Now, some people will say wean them down, just slowly bring them down. But I would tell you, these GLP-1s in your system are in your system for 5 weeks from the last injection. So if you've injected today, you have GLP-1 in you for 5 consecutive weeks still. So it's not like you're just all of a sudden dropping off the cliff day one to the next day. Some patients do want to come down slowly, but if you've hit your weight loss, right? If here's the thing, we put the GLP-1s as training wheels. These are going to help you work on that diet, and it's going to help you work on that nutrition side. And while you're losing that weight, we're starting to work on that, right? We're starting to hey, talk about protein. We're starting to talk about better, less processed foods. Hey, do you have a gluten or dairy allergy? We should go through this and figure out if you have that. Let's get that inflammatory side out. So we're working on those things as we move forward on this bike with the training wheels. So by the time that you get to that weight loss, it's my expectation you've already put those things in place. Like I'm expecting and hoping that those things are already in place. So weaning you down and slowly bringing your appetite back should not matter because as far as I'm concerned, you have done your due diligence, you've done your work, you were already at that point where you were already coming down. Let me just go to the low dose. That's what I do with my patients now. Most of them I actually just stop. They don't, because I'll tell you right now, most people that are doing this stuff, they're not coming to me. They're not asking what I'm supposed to do. They're just doing it themselves. And even if I tell them this is what you should do, they're still not going to listen to me. This is the problem. Even I'm sure this is happening to all the affiliates out here, right? Practitioners out here. You tell your patients to do this and they don't listen to you all the time. So many patients are just stopping. So I'm at least counseling to go down to this low dose and just sit there and just go to that dose and hold there because longevity is really important for us. Craving control is really good for us. It's not meant to be appetite suppression forever. You cannot suppress appetite forever. It just isn't possible. So we do have to tell patients these are things we have to work on. I'm also working on hormones. So I'm looking at thyroid in my patients. I'm looking at optimization for thyroid, optimization for testosterone. Those two really improve my outcomes because I have better metabolic control, better metabolism. These patients do a good job when they come off. They're no longer having the metabolism being slower. So I've sped up the metabolism. So when they do come off, they do a much better job. Without that, I would throw in things like testosterone. Hey, like the GLP-1's coming down, we're going to throw in testosterone now. We want to get some of that muscle back. We want to improve the metabolism. So testosterone, ipamorelin, or sermorelin are really, really great options for patients. We use a lot of CJC 1295 ipamorelin in practice as well as testosterone. Those are my best options. I love those. They're going to improve muscle mass. They're going to improve brain function. They're going to improve sleep quality, fat loss, skin, hair, nails, repair, immune system, sleep. Like they're going to work on all these other systems. When you are coming off this, one of the things for you to maintain weight is you have to feel good, right? If you feel terrible all the time, it's like when you're sick, right? When I'm sick, what am I going for? I'm not going for broccoli and spinach and salads. I'm like, what's the most unhealthy thing I can possibly eat right now? Give me a milkshake. Like, give me the garbage food. Because when we're sick, our bodies want the worst of the worst. So when you don't feel good, you're throwing carbs, lots of processed carbs in your body. So we want to make you feel better. This is where the GHRH, GHRPs come in. They're going to help improve how you feel, which then allow that weight loss to continue and hold there much better. So if you don't have access to doing hormones, you at least have access through LEMD to do the testosterone and ipamorelin, which is going to improve not only your weight loss journey, because testosterone and ipamorelin work on visceral fat as well as abdominal fat and burning fat. So we're going to keep that going, but you're also putting that muscle back on. So if you lost any of this muscle, God forbid you lost, 5, 10% of your muscle mass, now we can throw that muscle back on. And now we're working on the diet and nutrition. So now we have more protein in our diet, allowing for more muscle to come on the body with taking something like a GHRH, like testosterone.
I think that's awesome. I think that's a really great bridge as we're about to bridge into the other categories of peptides that are not GLP-1s. And we love this new monster duo, Tessa and IPA combination. One question is for new patients, do you typically recommend stacking peptides or do you recommend building one and then another over time? And then what would your go-to peptide to start with be?
Yeah, so my when I talk to patients, I am very surgical with my peptides. I personally had one at once. I want patients to totally understand what is working at any given time. I need you to know what's helping you. So if a patient comes in and says they're tired and fatigued, X, Y, and Z, I'm usually saying, what's the um, most generic thing I can give, right? So for me, it's growth hormone peptides. So CGC, ipamorelin, testosterone, ipamorelin, hormones. I'm starting with the base. For us, the base is always hormones. And then I'm adding things as we go, right? Let's say that I have a libido issue, right? Someone's coming in, their libido's not as good. Well, I can give you hormones to start. That might start working the libido. That's broad, generic, and it fixes many things. I can throw in something like testosterone. Testosterone does a good job improving libido as well. And then I can really dial in and say, you know what? I can focus in. I can give you PT 141 just for libido, but I'm going to do all these other layers first because what if I hit this? For me, it's like panning for gold, right? When you pan for gold, you want to take your sieve, you want to throw the sand in there and just shake it. When you shake it, whatever you have left is what you want to work on. So maybe there's three other issues they didn't tell me about that actually matter to them. And if I go generic first, something bigger like a, growth hormone peptide, I'm going to cover more bases. They're going to come back feeling better with better outcomes. And then I can come in specifically, right? The next thing is, my energy still sucks. Great. NAD is amazing. Let's throw NAD on there. So I'm usually giving patients about 4 weeks to 8 weeks on whatever protocol we're doing, and then I'm adding it in. And I'm doing that because wellness is long term. This is the thing that I think many men don't understand. My women understand better. Women, many of you are doing some kind of skincare routine. You have started and been doing this for the last 10, 20 years since you were young. And if I ask women when they're going to stop their skincare routine, they look at me like I have two heads. Like, you must be crazy if you think I'm stopping my skincare routine. And that's because women understand aging. If you stop whatever skincare regime you do and whatever topical you're using, it's not like you have wrinkles and lines starting tomorrow, right? We know this. If you miss a day, you're not like, oh my God, I'm gonna get wrinkly tomorrow. But long term, it's gonna slow down that wrinkle and aging process, which is why we spend, and there's so much money in the beauty industry for women, because there is research showing some of these things can slow down wrinkles and lines. So women have understood long-term care for quite some time. Many men don't get it. So my women can buy in very easily, right? Women come in and say, "Oh yeah, I get it. I do my skincare, so this is like my skincare. I'm going to take this long term." Your testosterone epinephrine is long term, right? Growth hormone is only going down. It is going to hit 10% by age 60. It is not coming up. There is nothing you can do other than take things that we offer to improve these numbers. And you can stop whenever you want, just like skincare. You could stop tomorrow. It just means the aging process will be a little bit faster. So I like to speak on health span and lifespan. Most of what I do hits lifespan as well as health span. Health span is how long you feel good. Lifespan is how long you live for. I want to hit health span as hard as I possibly can. And for health span, you want to do stuff long term, right? No one's going to the gym one day and saying, I did the gym, I'm good, don't have to go back again. Oh, I ate that really healthy meal yesterday. I had no processed food. Everything was fresh, organic, once and done. No, it's what am I doing consistently day in, day out? So I'm very, very clear to patients that we want to do things for long term. We need some of these things, right? Test when they're around long term. GLP-1s for me, long term. You can stop when you want. It's not like you're gonna, go back to zero, but I will tell you, for example, you're in your 60s, you're on testosterone and ipamorelin, you've gained a bunch of muscle mass. If you stop, you will actually go backwards because that muscle mass will start to deteriorate again. So some of these things are meant to be long term. You should be on them long term. There's a lot of good research showing these things can be used long term in people and help improve health outcomes.
Do you happen to notice that the people that are taking these peptide stacks and doing the peptide protocols, do you see in in your population of people observing, whether you're observing others or your own practice, do you
Mhm.
see more people begin to incorporate these better lifestyle changes, or do you see more people that feel like, oh, it's a band-aid, and then they're still eating and doing the things and not doing the exercising, and then they slink back? What do you see more of?
Um, we spend a lot of time in education. I mean, my Instagram is full of education, so I educate and educate. And for me, it's very important. I would say for most practices, when you're spending your hard-earned cash on this stuff, right? This is not insurance where it's not covering this stuff. So when you come in and you're spending hundreds of dollars a month, $1,000 a month, you better believe these people are like, what else do I got to do? Tell me what else, right? They want a health coach. They want someone to tell me, how do I eat? What do I eat? What other supplements should I be taking? They're wanting, if you're going all in, you're like, I'm going all in. I'm doing everything. What else can I do? So we do see, especially the GLP-1 patients, they're buying into all of it, right? Because they're wanting to be better, right? You're coming to see one of us because you're sick enough to do something about it. You're sick enough that I'm going to pay money. I'm wanting this bad enough that I'm going to pay money for it. When you are spending your money on it, like we all understand, when you spend your own hard-earned money on something, you're willing to put a lot more work in for it. So our patients coming to us and we're seeing diet changes. They're coming in. One of the things that counts patients, my number one thing, no processed foods. And then secondarily, let's try this gluten-free, dairy-free diet. I always tell my patients, give them a month of me for dairy free. Don't eat any dairy for a month. That first day, 31 days, I want you to have ice cream. I want you to have butter. I want you to cottage cheese, whatever dairy you love, just eat as much as possible. If you feel like you're really bad, you have some stomach issues the next day, you shouldn't eat dairy. It's inflammatory to you. Because if you don't have those issues, there is no reason you shouldn't be eating it. Same with gluten. Same thing. Cut it out for months. Same thing. So I'm telling people do these things, trial these things. And this is before, the kind of do anything else. This is alongside the care. I'm trying to educate them on what things are causing inflammation in their body. Let's bring the inflammatory things out. The biggest thing people care about as they age is inflammation, right? We all see inflammation part of aging. It's called inflamma aging. That is actually the process. In fact, women, when you go through menopause, you lose estrogen, you have increases in something called interleukin 6, interleukin 1 beta, and TNF alpha. These are inflammatory cytokines. Estrogen helps keep these down. When you lose estrogen, these all jump up. You know what's great? GLP-1s can counteract that same inflammatory markers. You can also give estrogen back to women to help them have this. But if you're doing these things, inflammation goes up as you age, and you're adding to it by eating inflammatory foods, you're going to just compound the problem. So my patients are looking at me and saying, what else can I do? I'm saying, this is what we do. I have a list of 6 supplements that I recommend. I hate multivitamins, not a fan of multivitamin anything, but I have 6 things I typically recommend in practice: creatine, zinc, magnesium, fish oil, methylated B complex, and vitamin D. Those are my 6. That's what I stick to and say, hey, these are the best things in general. You should take, I look at labs, prescribe one of these 6, give some of them, I prescribe them. Otherwise, these are my recommendations in general just to live. I'm not a supplement fan. I think that supplements are great, but I don't want to take a bunch. So I'm counseling patients on diet, nutrition, and then exercise. Hey, are you going to the gym 3 days a week right now? Are you doing some strength training? Are you doing anything for yourself in movement? My minimum is 3 days a week of walking. I live in Chicago. Let me tell you, middle winter, no one's walking, right? So, like, what are you doing then? What are you doing for some exercise right now? These are the pillars. And if you aren't going to do this, I can give you the stuff. You'll come back to me in 6 months and put the weight back on. You'll come back to me in 6 months and say, I don't feel good. You can't out peptide, out hormone, bad nutrition, diet, and exercise. Those are pillars. And I mean, my God, I wish I had someone in my office that just did all that and just spent time calling patients. Are you doing this? Checking in. High-end practitioners doing that. There's practitioners that are doing this for their patients, checking in. I think people are adults. They shouldn't be treated like babies. So I'm like, can you do this on your own? Great. You should go do it on your own. I shouldn't be checking in on you every single week. I do understand it is helpful for some people, right? I go to workout classes. It's like someone pushing me a little harder. So I'm not saying it's not useful for everyone out there. But if you are out there and you have to get a phone call from someone saying, did you eat a protein today? We failed you. Like, you should be doing this on your own. So I'm very much trying to educate patients what to do and then giving them some ideas, general guidelines to follow. And I do say people in general will come back and say, yes, I'm doing the things you asked me. I've had a patient recently said, told me to do all these things. She just got from her GLP-1, she just got to weight off. And she's like, I don't even want the same food. Like, honestly, you have got it's lifestyle changes. So we are working on lifestyle changes in patients. 70% of this country in the United States is overweight. What do we do to start helping that? We have to work on diet, nutrition, exercise. Those are the key pillars. Can you lose weight without a GLP-1? Absolutely. I didn't have a GLP-1 before I got a six pack and was ripped. That didn't do anything for me. It wasn't existed. I mean, not that it didn't exist. I just wasn't using it back then. And I will say that now I wish I had. I would have loved to. If I had semaglutide when I got in my best shape, I would have loved to take it. I would have
Who
been very
doesn't love a good cheat code, right? I
I,
mean,
it's not even cheat code, right? Like to me, it's not a cheat code. You, we need help. Like we need the training wheels. Like you need to be taught how to do this stuff. So while I'm putting that diet nutrition exercise in, it really helps to have that. And I would tell you now, I take semaglutide for the exact reason still, which is I'm older. I love sugar. If I don't have semaglutide, I will eat more sugar, and I absolutely know it. And I have done it. I come off semaglutide, and my sugar cravings come back, and it's much harder to control. As we get older, we want things to become easier. In my 20s, sure, let me suffer through the whole life. It's really hard. I can do all this stuff on my own, fine. I don't have the money to afford this stuff, but as I get older, I can afford things and I want to be more comfortable. I slept in hostels in my 20s. I'm sleeping in hotels now in my 40s. Like that just things change. I don't sleep in a crappy bed anymore. Like I don't want this stuff. I think that's how everyone feels. We want things to become easier. And I will say these things that we're doing make our lives easier, right? Test around, nip around, make you feel better. You want to have better health. It starts with the pillars, but then you can add these layers on. This is what stacking is. I'm giving this and this and this and this, but we're adding things as we go. So now all of a sudden I'm seeing a patient thinking they're on a GLP-1, they're on some hormones, they're on testosterone or CJC they're on NAD, and they're on this list of things. And they're like, well, what's next? I go, well, nothing. I'm like, do you have another area you want to work on? Because if we do, we'll go down. I can always add more, but I try to get patients, to me, less is more, right? Even if everything we offered patients was free, there comes a point to only how much treatment you can handle. So I just want patients to be very clear the reasons why I use less, even though there's a multitude of things I can do. I'm not a protocol guy. I don't give protocols out. I'm not saying do this and do this. You do all these things. I want protocols per patient. I want practitioners to understand how the protocols work, what they're doing, why they're doing this stuff. And then we're adding things as we go because at some point, I'm telling you now, patients will stop doing whatever they're doing. Long enough timeline, we all will stop. I myself, there's days my morning routine of doing pills in the morning, and I only have a handful, small bit of things I'm taking in the morning, and I'll skip them. Oh, I don't feel like doing that today. So like I don't even take things on vacation anymore. I used to be diligent. I take all my peptides and every vacation. If I'm gone for 5, 10 days, I'm taking it. Now I'm like, I'll do when I come back. So even I run into this and I know how well it works. I feel phenomenal on this stuff. And if it's happening to me, it's happening to every single person out there. It's from the same point. They're like, my God, like I've done injections every day for the last year. Like, how long am I doing this for? Well, realistically, forever. So these have to be buy-ins that people do long term for them to really be like the best for them long term.
absolutely. As we start to talk a little bit more about tesamorelin, ipamorelin, there's a really great question that bridges us here, right? I have somebody asking, how are you cycling your patients on and off of growth hormone secretagogues? But more specifically, how are you going to direct someone on a dosing schedule who has an abnormal lifestyle? They're doing the night shift. So maybe they're on to 7P to
Um,
7A, or they're in 11P to 7A and sleeping during the day. So what do you do for dosing for those growth hormone secretagogues? I want to make sure we get this question answered because I think it's valid. It's a really, really
it's
good question.
it's a really good one. Cycling wise, testosterone and Ingrifta, it's an FDA-approved drug for HIV lipodystrophy. Basically, what that means is people who take HIV drugs get a lot of fat around their organs and in the abdominal region. They made this thing called testosterone, and it improves visceral fat and improves the abdominal fat. So it was tested long term. We have HIV patients that are on this never forever. This is it. That's all it is. So the safety data we have is pretty robust, saying you can take this long term. I run testimonial around year round. There's no stopping. I've had patients on growth hormone peptides for 5 years. I don't take them off. I cycle like EllieMD does, 5 days on, 2 days off. You're cycling. You give them the receptors time to break. Totally fine. You can also cycle for like 6 weeks for nonstop and then take a week off. So we do cycle, but the cycles are typically weekends. Um, I run testosterone and promote my patients 6 days on, 1 day off. That's how I was taught. 5 on, 2 off also works. Either one of these dosing schedules work, but I don't stop them. If I have a patient that is having problems sleeping, I will use it when they go to bed. So before bed, whatever time it is, I don't care what time of the day that is. When they go to bed, before they sleep, that's when I'm giving testosterone and promote. Some patients have a boost in energy. I'm like, I can't sleep. I'm so wired on this stuff. I'm just so awake. Then I'll move that to a morning dose for them. So we'll do a morning dose for my patients that are really getting energy from it. I'll do a night dosing for my patients that are like seeing sleep benefits. Technically, you want to do it before bed, whenever that time is, even if you're on a split shift, you just want to do it. So if your split shift is, overnight, and then part of the week you move back to your regular sleep schedule or like a more normalized one, you still want to take it before bed. Your biggest growth hormone pulse is going to be overnight. So whatever that sleep time is for you, that's when you want to do it. So I do recommend doing that or first thing they wake up. Those are the two times, morning, or guess before bed and before they wake up. So it doesn't matter what that shift time is, still follow the same thing. If you're giving yourself that growth hormone spike, and it's like right before the bedtime, right? Let's say you get up at, I don't know, 6 p.m. for your overnight shift and you go to bed at, I don't know, 10 a.m. or whatever it is. I would say you don't want to take it at like that 11 p.m. where someone would normally take it before bed because you're hitting that growth hormone spike and you're wide awake. And that's not naturally how it works. We're trying to naturally pulse the growth hormone like we do ourselves. So again, those two biggest pulses are at night and kind of in the morning. We do, when you're younger, make about 6 to 7 pulses a day. And as we get older, those pulses are less intense and less frequent. So we're trying to recreate at least two of those big pulses. Again, like I said, you get to 10% of the growth hormone you had by the time you're 60. That does not mean you can't make it. This is what's so great about testosterone or CJC 1295 or Sermorelin. You can still make growth hormone. You just make less of it. And you just don't have the signaling. So if you imagine a fan in the room gets louder every hour till I get a bullhorn to scream over it, that bullhorn is your growth hormone peptides. That's what's getting the signaling out. So the signal we lose gets static in the background. If you give the signaling back, you can bring that growth hormone right back.
So, can you explain a little bit more about why you like this combination of tesamorelin, ipamorelin? Because a lot of times they can be available separately. And I thought you explained this in the past very well, how they work synergistically and but how each one is designed to work.
Yeah. So, how it works. I talked to Honey about this because I think this is going to be an issue for LAMD moving forward. Ipamorelin is a growth hormone releasing peptide. Growth hormone releasing peptides all work on ghrelin, basically work on ghrelin. Ghrelin is a hunger hormone. So here's the problem. You're on a GLP-1 or you don't want to gain weight. Ipamorelin has the least amount of hunger increases, right? So it doesn't increase hunger that much. It doesn't increase prolactin, doesn't increase cortisol, which can happen with other GHRPs. The first one I started on GHRP2, GHRP6, I did the first injection. Danielle, I literally inject this stuff and I'm like, I'm dying. I was like, where's the food? I had to find, I was digging through my backpack, like I need food right now. I need to eat. I was hypoglycemic, felt like I was dying, freaking out. I'm eating everything in my way. In fact, when I first started using Sermorelin, GHRP2, GHRP6, I used to live above a Target in downtown Chicago. I would go downstairs and grab gummy bears for breakfast. It'd be like gummy bears. I'd walk downstairs. I literally jacked and be like, "That's it, breakfast time." Walk downstairs, grab a bag of gummy bears, and start pounding stuff. Do not do as I do. That was not my healthiest stage. I was also pretending to be keto at the time, so I was eating a high-fat diet and then eating tons of gummy bears to start the day. So it wasn't exactly the best. But I was so hungry. So ipamorelin has a lot less hunger. The reasons we like the GHRPs mixed with the GHRHs, which is you could technically even add ipamorelin to sermorelin, but the reason we do it is because it peaks. So you have this, if you want to think of like a car, I think I explained this before. You are driving a car down the street, right? And you're stopped. And the GHRH, which is testosterone, it's a growth hormone releasing hormone. That's your gas. We're pushing the gas down, pedal to the metal, but the brake is still being pressed. Somatostatin is on the pituitary. It's holding down growth hormone from being released. So if you push a gas down in a car and you have the brake held down, you might move forward some, but not really far, depending on how good your brakes are. Now, you have GHRP, which is takes off the brake, the somatostatin. So if I take just the brakes off, that car will move forward slowly. You'll have just a little movement, something, you take the brake off, and some cars just move forward, they're in gear. If you have a stick shift, and it might just sit there, like the car won't move. So it sounds able to, but it can't. When you put these together, you take the gas off or take the brake off, you take the gas and press it down. Now you have your car going down the highway and flying. So what we're trying to do is release the biggest growth hormone pulse as possible. Synergistically, they just shoot this big pulse up. So, for example, CJC 1295 ipamorelin, they almost have a 2x pulse increase by doing both of them as opposed to both of them separately. So testosterone and ipamorelin is the same thing. They are incredibly strong at increasing growth hormone. The reason I use testosterone and ipamorelin is because testosterone has the strongest output of what comes down to IGF-1. IGF-1 is insulin growth factor. This is what actually matters. This is what we talk about. This is the reason. This is the reason we do growth hormone improvements. Testosterone and ipamorelin will go to the pituitary. It'll tell the pituitary to release more growth hormone. Growth hormone goes to the liver and then tells the body to release IGF-1. Ultimately, what we care about is IGF-1 levels. These are really what we look at. People look at growth hormone levels, they matter, but IGF-1 is the big thing we talk about. When you look at Simran, you can get IGF-1 levels to about 50. CJC 1295, ipamorelin gets you about 100. Testosterone can get you to about 150. 150 is more normal. That's like the best normal range. Between 100 and 200 is about the range typically. 150 is a really, really great number. So getting you to this best number would be the testosterone by itself. And then you add the ipamorelin, and now you add another couple points, maybe get from 150 to like 175, 200, because you have the big combo. The only thing that I do caution patients, and I do believe honey will come out with a testosterone alone, because some people, very few, will have some hunger from the ipamorelin. And the reason we separate testosterone and ipamorelin from food is because of that ghrelin. If you eat with right afterwards, you shut down the ghrelin right away and it doesn't do anything. So you've just wasted having ipamorelin. And again, you've wasted that and you also ate. So now you're eating more food and just not going to go well if you're on weight loss. Or even if you're not on weight loss, most people aren't trying to gain more weight. That's not like the look, that's not the want for most people. So there will probably be a testosterone that comes out by itself. And again, it's only for the select patients that do have hunger. Most people won't. So I take testosterone and ipamorelin. I have no increase in hunger. Most people that do it do not have an increase in hunger. So you want that giant impulsive growth hormone, which is going to be great, without having any hunger increase. So the two combined is ultimately the best. But if there is anyone out there that does have a little hunger from that, again, I have talked to Honey. I am almost 99% positive she will come off the testosterone by itself, standalone. But I will still be pushing testosterone and ipamorelin because it is the very best. There is nothing better than testosterone and ipamorelin that exists in the market unless you're taking growth hormone. It's the only step down from growth hormone, which I do not like growth hormone for multiple reasons. Number one being increases diabetes by reducing insulin sensitivity, and the peptides go the opposite way. They help improve insulin sensitivity and reduce the risk of type 2 diabetes.
Well, I love that because I'm going to be a good test candidate. I have a gummy bear addiction myself. That is my favorite snack, gummy bears and a couple of almonds to try to
Mm,
balance that out
I
because
love
I am obsessed. I will be testing that out very soon.
it.
Another question on this is let's talk a little bit about route of administration, right? One person wanted to know, is injection the best? And then let's also compare injections to the BPC and NAD plus patches.
Hmm.
So let's just kind of talk about that route of administration so people understand there are different delivery systems out there. And so let's break this down for us.
Well, I'm going to get yelled at by Honey for this one because I don't really agree to the patches. I don't think that I can tell you in experience, um, injection is number one. I know that people do not want to inject. I know they don't. I really know injection is the most bioavailable. NAD, for example, if you give an oral NAD, it is about 20% as effective as the injection. So like that alone is like the research shows this. Same with ipamorelin and testosterone. There are oral. I used to have an oral troche of it. I've taken it. I've used it myself. I actually can feel the difference. I've had patients use it. They don't feel it doesn't work as well. The problem with a lot of peptides is they cannot pass through the gut. They get broken down. This is what we have peptase in the body. It's an enzyme. It actually breaks down this. There's a lot of enzymes to break down peptides in the body. Um, but the liposomal versions of these things can pass through basically the skin in the mouth into the body. That's theoretically what happens. They still don't work as well. Ultimately, I still would rather people inject. If you refuse to inject, you are so scared of needles, it is the death of you. It's not gonna not work. It's just not gonna work nearly as well. The patches are the least effective. They are just not going to work that well, almost at all. Ionophoresis, when they push into the skin, there's just almost no improvements. The benefits you get from the injections as opposed to the oral ultimately just win. You're going to get more benefits from it. So most bang for your buck is going to be the injectable over any oral or topical. And that is, again, bioavailability. Bioavailability from an injectable sub-Q is usually above 90%. Anything oral is going to be around 20 to 30%. And then patches are going to be somewhere around 10 to 15%. I do think there's very little bioavailability from any patches.
And I think too, we try to tell people if you're getting the medication, so like the GLP-1s or the Ozempics, the branded products through your doctor through insurance, you're really missing out on this level of education because your doctor, number one, does not have time to walk you through all of these nuances of these products. They're literally prescribing for a disease state this medicine, and they have no idea that it even benefits or does other things, right? So you just physically cannot get that level of education. Also, think of your patients, and how often would you want to field this level of questions all the time? That's why you do the research that you do. So it's out there because you don't have enough time and hours in your day to handle all of the questions that arise. And that is something that we are able to do through our communities at EllieMD is we have these forums and these educational resources so that you have the information at your fingertips, that you aren't feeling like, oh, I need to call my doctor about this. There's so much that you can learn in terms of support without having to feel like you need to call the nurse hotline and then wait for a couple of days for someone, to get back to you because their workload is hefty. But I am glad that you spoke to the delivery system and really injection it's the way to go. And if you're nervous, have your spouse do it first. The first time my husband had to inject, the first two times he had to inject me. Now I get to inject him, and with a big smile on my face, he finally lets me do that. One more question. We have a sports chiropractor here, and he wants to know the best route to get peptides to his patients. Our scope doesn't allow us to do injections, as you know, although we can do the patches, but as you said, just not as effective. I know the answer to this, but I'm going to let you take it.
Oh, this is you. I'm gonna let you shine on this one right there. This is yours.
This is our sweet spot. So EllieMD is a telehealth platform where we offer an affiliate link to medical professionals, wellness providers, business owners who want to connect their patients with prescription, NABP certified compounding pharmacies that are top graded. You know you're getting the real stuff, the pure stuff. It is all third party tested for that potency and that efficacy. Again, my 20 years in the pharmaceutical industry, I understand specifically a generic is not a generic is not a generic. It does have a different bioavailability and result in your body based on the generic manufacturer. So compounding pharmacy and education is really, really important to me. That's why I personally partnered with Ellie. So if you would like to bring regenerative health into your chiropractic practice, you could become an affiliate of EllieMD. You would have the telehealth platform. And then your patients, you can counsel them. They can choose what they want. And our team of medical providers will review their medical history, their medical questionnaire, and review them for medical necessity or potential exclusion, although there are very, very few exclusatory factors. And then our team of doctors will take on that medical liability for prescribing. Your patient will have telehealth access for the duration of their prescription, and our pharmacies will send it typically within 1 to 2 days to their doorstep. And this is exactly why I'm so glad you asked this question. I brought my Tessa IPA. It just came today. So it comes in it's cold shipped. I ordered it Monday night. I was approved and it was here today. So the pharmacy sent this nice little sub-Q card for how to inject. I get the alcohol prep pads right here. I get a bag of syringes. And I get my product with my prescription, with my name on it, with the dosing. Inject 20 units sub-Q into the abdomen once per day, 5 times a week. That's because this is the Tessa IPA combo, which I'm super excited to maybe see some muscles show up in my body and maybe get a little more of that belly fat and honestly sleep again. So if you have more questions, I would recommend, doctor, that you reach out to whoever it was that invited you to this platform, and we can connect you with more of the information. But you do not have to have prescribing licensure to do this. You would connect it, we would take on that liability, and your patients can get safe, efficacious peptides sent
And
directly
can
to
I
them.
can I answer this, Danielle? I gotta say, I am not paid by Ellie right now. I'm hoping to get a partnership with Ellie at some point, but I don't use in the platform. I have no affiliation with them. I come on because I really believe in the product, what Honey's built, what the product of EllieMD is. I really do believe in what she's provided. I will also say she's very fair with her affiliates. She pays very well. It's a tiered system, so people could make a lot of money. Even if you're if you're seeing very few patients or you're seeing a lot of patients, it's all tiered on that. So I gotta say, after her explaining it all to me, I was very impressed with the system, how it works, which is why I've been giving all my time to a lot of affiliates coming on Zooms and helping this out because I do think there is a huge need for this right now. And unfortunately, even though HIMSS offers this, I don't think they're doing a great job with it. There are other telehealth companies that exist. In fact, one of my people that follows me on Instagram who's known me for years is kind of mad at me coming on all these calls with EllieMD people, but I think what Ellie has built has just been really so impressive. So I got to say, what they're doing and how it's been has been very helpful. Having these resources available has been incredibly useful. I'm having these phone calls to kind of provide affiliates and people with information. The people like me or other practitioners that use this stuff in practice can only benefit everyone out there because you're hearing experienced people who are doing this in practice right now and who do this stuff regularly. So,
Yeah, and there's only so many hours you have in the day to book your clients and your patients to see them for the personal consults. There's a wide array of, information that you can open up to a revenue stream to scale your practice through using LEMD. And I do, Honey Sagari, that, Dr. Jason is not just calling this woman Honey. Her name is Honey, and it's so funny when he's having a conversation. It's like, okay, honey, and it sounds like he's just saying honey sweetie, but really that's her name. I always like to tell people that because it still catches me off guard. But she's really invested in this safety and this quality because later this year we are supposed to be launching hormone testing for men in TRT. So first, we should get TRT for men with very soon following our women's hormone testing and hormone replacement therapy for women as well. So with these investments in broadening our menu of peptides and hormone therapy down the line, obviously we want to make sure that we are doing things properly and right because we need to be able to scale to keep up with the demand because once you enter this peptide marketplace, it is very, very fast paced. My family knows that I enter my office in the dark in the morning and I do not leave until it's dark in the evening. I do have a really good question, and you speak well to this before we wrap up. There's someone who wants to know about thoughts with patients with a personal history of breast cancer using peptides with theory of cell/tissue growth. And you really do a great job. So,
yeah. So, previous cancer risk, GLP-1s automatically. I'm giving GLP-1s prevention of cancer all day, every day. If you currently have cancer, which there's no real way to know, there's a few testing companies that are doing blood testing, some liquid biopsies. There's also Pronova, which is doing full body MRIs to tell you have cancer. If you don't have cancer, using a NAD or growth hormone peptides are totally fine. In fact, it's a double-edged sword. If you take NAD, you don't have cancer, it can prevent cancer growth. If you have cancer, it will cause it to grow more. GHRHs like testosterone or ipamorelin, same idea. If you don't have cancer, it's improving immune system surveillance, so you will stop cancer from growing. If you have cancer, it'll make it grow. Everyone always asks, but what if they have cancer? Well, there's no way for you to know. As long as you've done your due diligence as a practitioner, you've run the labs, like there's no way. And there's no real way for anyone to know this, right? I have a patient, actually, my first patient that I think of, I think he has something going on. Lymph nodes got swollen. God, he was on IGF-1 with me. He's been on test with him on all these things that potentially could increase cancer growth. There's no way I would have known this. I don't know if he had cancer. This is just, he was talking to me, has messaged me today because he's come in a few times now. I don't know if it's an immune reaction. We're doing testing, we're doing biopsy. We're sending him away for PET scan and MRI to make sure and rule everything out. So like I'm just doing my due diligence here. We stopped all the NAD. We stopped our growth hormone peptides, everything that might be increasing cancer growth. But for most of us out there, there's no way to know you have cancer. There's just not. Median age of cancer is about 66. So typically your older individuals, there's your risk goes up. But your younger individuals, 30s, 40s, 50s, you have less risk of this. So unless you have some belief that they might have cancer, you don't have to worry. Now, previous history. I'm always cautious. As long as their oncologist has cleared them, you're cancer free. As far as I'm concerned, they're cancer free because oncologist knows this much better than me. If they have not been cleared and they're oncologist, they just finished all the treatment, they haven't been cleared yet, I would definitely stay away from anything that's going to push mTOR or push growth, which is going to be NAD and growth hormone peptides. Those I'd stay away from. But if they've been cleared, go for it. GLP-1s always. I'm always, unless you have medullary thyroid cancer, which is a very specialized kind of cancer. I had a history of that. That's about the only kind of cancer we have to worry about with GLP-1. There's no proof it actually has happened with GLP-1s, but it had happened in rodents, so we have to be at least not acknowledge that and be not using those kind of patients. But if you have cancer patient coming to see you, GLP-1, I'm putting GLP-1s on every cancer patient I have. You have cancer, you're on GLP-1 across the board. So that is pretty safe to use in every patient that I see. Again, it reduces breast cancer, and we know prostate cancer at the very least. If you're overweight, these patients are overweight and helps drop weight, there you reduce cancer risk as well. So that would be the one thing I'd say. The caveat is if you have cancer, if you have previously had cancer, you've not been cleared, either cancer free, I would hold off on those peptides, and NAD and the GHRH is the big ones.
Awesome. What is the best way for a provider to further their education on peptides, in your opinion?
Oh, well, I'll be teaching on peptides next month in Cancun, actually. I'm doing a peptide workshop for some stem cell company. I think I'm speaking personally in October on peptides, and then again as faculty for another group, I think in January. I'm going to start my own peptide teachings here in the next few months, but right now I love SSRP, Dr. Seeds, and the Seed Scientific Research Group at P, whatever P stands for. I don't know what his group is now. I've been following Seeds for years. It's where I got most of my knowledge. He's phenomenal. A4M has a certification, anti-aging medicine, A4M. Their certifications, the beginning one, they have two parts. The first part's really great. Second one, take or leave it. I wouldn't really go into it. One is the beginning, it's enough. But SSRP actually has a certification in September in Orlando, also virtual, first weekend of September. They're a phenomenal one. If you want to learn about peptides, they do a really good job. Seeds is really, really smart. Again, most of my knowledge comes from him teaching and me kind of him mentoring me. So I would say that is where you want to go. There are a lot of places. I've seen a lot of peptide universities and things that popped up. A lot of people talk about peptides, but getting that scientific knowledge, really having a group like A4M or SSRP kind of sets you above the rest.
Okay, that's interesting too, because I've sat in on a few of these intros into some of these peptide certification programs, and we haven't really gotten a whole lot. I've learned a lot more through Ellie and the education and following. So I know Dr. Seeds is a really good one to follow. Does he do a significant enough level of education, you think, on his Instagram, or do you really think that going to there
So,
is going to make the game changer for someone's practice?
yeah, he started a
Because he's
podcast.
not cheap either.
No, his consult is 2,000 an hour for patients. He's very expensive. His certification is a bit more expensive. I would say when I first started working with him 6 years ago, his first seminars, he gave out information like it was nothing. Now he's very much holding it back to get more money from his masterminds, which charge an arm and a leg. So I've been to a bunch of them. I have probably 5 masterminds I've been to. They are very, very good, but they're very, very, very pricey. He also goes, if you, his newest book on GLP-1s is incredibly science driven. I started a master's for biochemistry, so I have some really good biochemistry kind of base, and even I'm lost in this book. And it's a lot of biochemistry. So at least my goal for when I start teaching is I want people to be able to get some education and some depth of knowledge and feel like there's some medical side to it, but also not be lost. And I think Seeds kind of gets lost in the weeds. He will get very down into the weeds. But if people love biochemistry and they really want to know how this stuff works, he is a great teacher for that. Unfortunately, for practice, no one cares. Your patients don't care. You aren't going to care. So I'm like, this is great. I would say between the two, honestly, Seeds does a really, really good job. His certification course is pretty impressive. It is enough to get you started, which is great. He does have a World Congress every year. It is not worth going to if you really just want to get a basis of peptides. It doesn't teach you much. It's kind of just like a here's a bit of everything, and you're not really going to learn much of anything. We had 90% of the people at the last SSRP World Congress in June. They were brand new, and they walked away feeling very lost. So their certification course is much better. A4M, again, good certification course. I want to say a form is like $5,000 for certification course. It is expensive. I think seeds is a bit less expensive, so it's worth going to that. But again, he does kind of leave you lost at times, the amount of depth of he wants to show off he's very smart. He's a very, very smart man, and he sometimes likes to show that sometimes. It's a bit hard to wade through that. But again, there I would say those are the top two I do recommend. They do have good resources. And again, what's nice about the SSRP is they have a forum, just like EllieMD has a forum that you guys can get into. If you join the SSRP, there is a forum there, and you can ask whatever question you want, and faculty will come back and answer you. Other practitioners come back and answer you. So it gives you a really good place to pull data from if you're really questioning stuff. So I would say SSRP, at least for their ability to get the information out. If you have a question like this that you can't get answered, someone in the faculty or even Seats himself will come back and answer your actual question, which is just that alone. Even if you join as a member, you can get these. Most of these things are all pre-recorded, so you can watch them at home at your own time.
Wonderful. That wraps up our questions. I thank you so very much. This has been a very long night, I know, for you. Today we had one more pop up. Let's see what this is. Is this? Oh, we had a thank you. So thank
Oh,
you
cool.
from the audience for spending close to 3 hours talking about peptides to us. We
There
really
you go.
value your knowledge and really breaking it down real world for us because it is a new thing. It is for people who are truly looking to create next level health for your next level life. Because where you are in life right now, you've burned for this life that you're creating. Now you want your body to work with you and not against you. And this is exactly what the world of peptides can do. So thank you everybody for joining us. Thank you Dr. Jason, I'm going to owe you some gummy bears, that's for sure. Take care,
Thank you for
everybody.
understanding
Have a
it.
good
You guys
night.
all, everyone have a great night.